Welcome to the Everyday Board Game Podcast with Daniel.
And Daniel.
And today, as always with our Wednesdays, we have a discussion topic that is near and dear to our hearts. Because, holy cow, did we get a response from this one. And this...
I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
Well, we asked the audience something very simple. What is the worst and best board game inserts? And while I was assuming that everybody was going to focus on the best.
Boy!
That was
Did
very
everybody
much
go
mistaken.
for the worst.
Yeah, and so this is kind of a comedy thing, and so there's a couple of things that I'm curious about. How many of yours on your top 3 best or top 3 worst do you think were acknowledged in the comments? Like, have you read through them yet?
Let's see, there's some honorable mentions that I mentioned are on here. One that is on my top 3 worst.
Okay.
Let's see here. This is only the second time I've actually looked at this. I had already got my games written down. That's when I went to go look at it because I just wanted to see how many people messaged it. And I was like, whoa, what did we do?
Yeah, we lit a fire.
Yeah,
so
let's see here.
This is going to be fun, I think.
Actually, there's one on here I should have thought of. I didn't think of it, so.
Okay.
And that was for the best. Another one, I thought of it, but I have issues with it a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, one of my worst is on the list here. I'm trying to go through it as quick as possible, but a lot of them are saying, like, for some of the best is the aftermarket insert, which we didn't clarify to them that we're talking about, like, what comes into the game on that one. But
well,
yeah,
I mean, did we clarify that? I mean, it just says what are the best and worst inserts.
And worst insert, and so a lot of the best ones are aftermarket, like the folded spaces. Yeah. That's what a lot of people are saying. And so I personally was going for more along the lines of what games come with great inserts that you don't need to buy an aftermarket insert.
Right.
And what are the worst that forces you to buy an aftermarket insert.
Right, exactly. Okay. Yeah, I was in the same way, and I think you and I both agreed that we wanted to talk about the ones that come stock in the insert. So this was one that, before we get too much into the discussion, I wanted to clarify. You and me both, we had a discussion with Tabletop Bellhop last week about it, or during the top 8 debate, and we kind of agreed that it's, no insert is not bad. Like, I have plenty of games that don't have an insert, and because if I have a bad insert and I throw it away, then I have no insert. That doesn't ruin my experience. It's just the box.
Exactly.
And I know it's going to talk about Fantasy Flight later on because that's a big one. But they're notorious for the well. They have a big square box and there is a well, or like a trench as they call it, and that holds the cards and everything in there. I think that's fine. I mean, they normally have custom art on it.
We'll find out my thoughts on it. So
we'll definitely see. But I think only one of my worst and one of my best are on the list.
So, 2 of my worst have made the list. One is an honorable mention. The other is actually on my list. So, I haven't seen some of my best ones yet. But, again, I haven't scrolled all the way through this. There is a lot. People have really commented on this one. And it's not like those short and sweet comments that we've been reading in the past. These are like paragraphs of dissertations of why these are the worst inserts.
Yeah, I know. We have doctoral dissertations, like people are discussing that. I haven't seen any clear like a dividing line where people are like, this is the word. No, what are you talking about? That's fantastic.
Yeah.
But
the only thing I see a certainty in here is apparently Fantasy Flight is hated by everyone.
Right. Yeah, and we had Keith Mateka. He was our special guest on Monday, and he said that he didn't realize how much passion there was for an insert.
Yeah. And then our normal viewer, Ithri, when he joins us, he's not a fan of the whole insert process. I'm like, it's understandable. This is kind of a tongue-in-cheek kind of thing where we're having fun with it. At the end of the day, if you don't like an insert, just throw it out. You still have the box that can store everything. Bag everything up and put it in the box. It's fine.
Exactly.
A good insert or a bad insert is not going to kill a game for me. Honestly, It's just something to have fun with, because you got really passionate on your number 1 and number 2. I know one of them for a fact.
I don't think you
brought it up with Keith too.
Yeah.
Like it. Why?
Why? Yeah. I do have my number 1. The worst insert I have right here, and I will be showing it on the video because words cannot describe how bad this one is. But
I have one of my best inserts on the shelf behind me somewhere.
Yeah. I have another one that I'll be talking about. But like, so I kind of went on this as like, if you had to go out of your way to make a new insert, to customize it to make it better, I don't know if that considers it bad. I don't necessarily like it when, like, say the base game doesn't a lot for expansions. I like to combine the two. So I'm going to show a quick example. I had to 3D print this one. These are the chips for Splendor. And so what I ended up doing is printing, this is nice ASMR, but you print a tray.
Sorry for our headphones users.
No, that wasn't too bad. I tried to make it quiet.
Yeah.
Was it bad? Okay, my apologies. But so this is one with the poker chips. And so that's not to knock on Splendor, you know. Splendor has an actually really great insert. It fits everything almost perfectly.
I may have to pay you some to give me some of those holders there for I can fix up my wits and wagers for my poker chips.
Yeah, there's probably some on there. Yeah, we'll discuss afterwards. I actually
replaced all the cardboard poker chips with actual real poker chips for
fantastic.
Wits and Wagers, so I need somewhere to store them all.
Okay. I have ways that I can work out that deal with you. So we'll talk afterwards. Make a note. Let's see here. 3D print. All right, we'll talk about that after. Anyway. So now that's something I wanted to bring up because Splendor, when I bought the expansion, I like to combine everything in there, and the expansion box was just as big as the base. And it wasn't as much content. Now there's a lot of content in it, you know, like it's brimming, but then I don't have an insert for it, and it didn't give me a solution for that. So that's why the custom stuff, and that's why I feel like folded space and game trays and all those are really good alternates because they do accommodate for expansions.
Yeah.
So let's get into it. I don't know your thoughts. I just wanted to share that. That's kind of why we wanted to stick with just what came with the game.
Yeah, no, I stuck with it, and my example for that is Terraforming Mars. Right now they're having the big box Kickstarter to throw everything in. They're giving you 3D printed pieces for the tiles and stuff like that, which is fine. I enjoy it. But with their, I don't know if you can see it. I think it's above me somewhere. No, it's over there somewhere. The base game itself is just, the box anyways, it's just an extra piece of cardboard flipped in there to make it look like Mars. That's it. You can even take that out, it's fine, but it's just another hollowed point in where you just throw everything in there. And it was built for all the small expansions they were doing for the cards. I have 3 of the 5 expansions in Terraforming Mars bagged up, and it just sits in there fine. And that's it. Plus, I buy these little bit trays things.
Oh, yeah.
And I keep all the bits and pieces in there, and that fits in there with all the cards, and I still have room for the other 2 expansions, and so that's perfectly fine. I like the big box because they're giving me a storage capability, but I don't need it.
Yeah, exactly. I get that. Yeah, and see, I like the fact that they put that the decorative insert.
Yeah.
Non-functional, but at least it looks cool. You know, and it's not obtrusive. All right, let's get into our viewer comments.
Before that, what have you been playing?
Oh yeah, that's true. What have I been playing? Oh man, yesterday I played another round of Space Base, but nice. I played a game with my kids that I forgot that I had for a while. But my daughter saw it on the shelf and she was like, "That looks interesting. Let's try it." It's called Wallamappy, and it's called Wallamappy. I don't think it was sold on the name alone, but the idea is this beautiful wooden box. Let's talk about an insert, right? Maybe I should have considered this. This wooden box, and you have like these wooden disc tokens that you can kind of see on the side here. But basically, you have to build like this pyramid, and then the game itself is you have to remove discs from the side of the pyramid and stack them on top. All while the box is made into a timer with a marble falling down. So it's this nice, satisfying, loud clack, 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 clack as the marble is like ticking away as you're trying to get this disc and nervously put it on top safely. If you knock over the tower or run out of time, you lose. And I played that with my son and daughter. It's only a 2-player game, but I forgot how satisfying that loud clacking is. It's so good. It resonates off of the edge of the box. It's a super cool component. I like it a lot.
Nice. For me, myself, I haven't really played much board games. I have, except for I have played another round of Arkham Horror, the card game, and I still can't beat the stupid third game in the base. It's a pain in the butt, but I enjoy the mess out of it. But what I've been doing is taking my time and reading rule books.
Ah, yes. The Gloomhaven one, huh?
So I got the Gloomhaven one here. This is the one I'm actually going to probably try to bust out onto the table today. I'll try to. Another one I've been reading is the one that we're going to try to live play, if possible, tomorrow.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
I've been reading the rules and refreshing on that between two cities. Again, thank you to Stonemeyer Games for sending that game to us.
Yep.
As well as, because this has got solo play, so I kind of want to read this one as well.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, let me ask you a question, and I don't know if you know the answer to this or not yet, but the Jaws of the Lion, the new Gloomhaven, I remember the original Gloomhaven, you said that you had to play like a certain number of the stories before you can play solo mode?
Yes. So this one, I mean, technically you can play Jaws or the original Gloomhaven solo. What you do when you're playing a solo game of Gloomhaven is you play 2 characters. You're running both characters while you're fading that, and you can do it. For you to do the solo scenarios that you can buy separately in their own little book, I think it's like $10 or something like that, you need to have so many games into Gloomhaven because the city of Gloomhaven itself needs to be, I believe, a prestige of 3. So prosperity of 3 or something like that. So it needs to be up to 3 before you can even crack open the solo scenarios for them to work. Because your characters that you're using in the game are still leveling up even if you're doing this solo by yourself.
Gotcha. Okay, so then what about Jaws of the Lion? Is it encourage you to do solo right off the bat, or is it still the 2-player?
It's still the 2-player rule. You don't. Every time you play solo with Gloomhaven, it's 2 players. Even I think the solo play of Gloomhaven, the solo scenarios, I haven't busted them open because I'm waiting to actually expand on the thing. Is that you when you're running solo, you play as 2 people. So you're got more information than when you're playing with other people, but you still have to pay attention because you still set up the game like you're playing a 2-player game. Gotcha. So the modular setup for 2, 3, 4 players. You set up as a 2-player game, so you're controlling 2 members of the party. Okay,
that makes sense. Yeah, I was curious about that because I kind of wanted to. There was a very strong likelihood that if I buy Jaws of the Lion, I was going to solo it. I was going to try it with my son first because I think he would actually do really good at it. But I don't know if he's been wanting to try a dungeon crawl lately, so maybe we'll have to try like Legends of Andor or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, not to knock your son or anything, but Legends of Andor does not give you the feel of a dungeon crawl.
No. That's why.
Gloomhaven, I mean, your kid's smart; he can pick it up. This is one of the more difficult games. I'm trying to think of like an easier dungeon crawl that would be easier to pick up. This way, he has an understanding of the way a dungeon crawl works. Because Gloomhaven, there is a lot of moving parts in that game, and your son could pick it up, but he might also be overwhelmed by.
True.
However, if you do get Jaws of the Lion, I highly recommend you using that one to teach him how to play it because the first 5 scenarios, all they really are is teaching you how to use. The first scenario is teaching you how to use your characters. Second scenario adds like how the monsters are going to start interacting in the world and stuff like that, and the stuff that they can do. Sure. Third scenario, fourth scenario. By the time you play through the 5th scenario, you should already know in play. So. That's what I like about it from everything I've seen and everything I've read. It's a slow process to teach you the game over 5 games.
Okay.
So for like the 6th scenario, boom, you can play it. So yeah, I would say Jaws of the Lion.
Okay.
Would probably be your best bet to teach him.
Yeah, then I definitely will. It's right there. I'm gonna buy it. And now I found a semi-local place that sells Evil Dead 2, the board game. Oh man, do I want to buy that.
Who sells it?
El Paso.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yep.
Lindy's shop.
Yep. So,
I don't know if I want to go to El Paso right now.
I know.
She still does delivery, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I may get it shipped to me and then put it in quarantine because one, it's Evil Dead, and two, it could cause the Evil Dead.
Right? Exactly. We don't want to open up the Necronomicon right now during the pandemic. This is another. It would be in character of 2020. You know, really.
Yeah. No.
Might as well just raise the dead at this point.
What was it? I saw a meme. I'm sorry to bring this up. I'm getting off topic, but I saw a meme. Somebody had one of those Gremlin Furbies, and he would put it under the seat. He's like, we might as well get July popping.
Yeah, exactly. I saw that too. That was great. All right, let's talk about the comments. Ryan was the first one to comment on this, and he commented like, I want to say minutes after I posted it.
Yeah, he was one of the first.
Yeah, Ryan said, best game trays, hands down. Worst, Fantasy Flight. That's straight up, no specific examples, no nothing, just hands down, best.
And Jaru was agreeing with him. He's like, hands down, this is the best, and this is also the worst. He says, agree totally. Bert says, folded spaces, nice, durable, and don't cost more than the game.
Yep. Curtis said Barron Park. I'm assuming because like DJ replied,
DJ
worst
says
by
worst
far.
By far. Curtis just threw that thing out and pulled all the pieces in Ziploc, which our mutual friend Dom did the same thing. He hated that insert too.
Yeah, I need to show the insert because that's the only way.
Chris says, hold on, while you're getting the insert ready, Chris was saying this deserves a vote for the most mind-boggling. That being said, I found a way to make it work that's actually pretty useful. There is a way to make it work. Curtis adds, there is a way to make it work, but there are much easier ways outside what the publisher provides.
Yeah, they're not wrong. I mean, it's this. I got to figure out how to. Yeah, okay. This is the insert. It's basically space left over from the punch board, and this is how it looks inside the box. It makes like a weird large triangle, then chops the middle triangle, and this. The reason why this is so bad is because every piece in it is square or polyhedral.
Yeah.
So tell me where you can efficiently put this big board. Right here, it barely fits. It's barely sticking under the insert.
And there's how many of them?
Yeah, there's like 16 of them, you know. I mean, these aren't designed to be in triangulated forms. So, I mean, I keep it just because I have it. But I certainly don't use it. I always have it broken down and just use the bags.
Yeah,
I completely agree with this.
I think everybody who uses it just bags it. That to me, that is just one of the weirdest ideas that ever came up with for an insert.
Right.
So Robert adds, Megaland is great. Worst ones are when they have a ton of different pieces with no way to organize them. Makes setup a pain if you don't use alternative storage.
Yeah. Jonathan said Dice Throne is pretty good, and Parks as well. Dice Throne is actually neat. Each of the characters has their own like little insert that you just straight up take out the insert for the character. That's what you do. I like that one a lot.
So Gabriel says he wouldn't include most board game inserts because they are there to keep the game together. He would say Gallerist or Coimbra. They both were made to fit everything, but in Gallerist it is a tight fit if you have many expansions. In Coimbra, can't take any expansions, and it always falls everywhere. The best is either Gaming Trunk or Tower Rex. Both can be found on Etsy. Tower Rex is good at price and as everything fits smoothly.
Yeah. And now one thing that I want to point out too is I store my boxes sideways. You know, as you can see by the side of Splendor.
And if we go further in here, people start talking about a lot of that too.
That's going to be a really big thing about that.
Whereas me, I prefer to keep my boxes this way. I mean, they look nice on the shelf sideways, but this way is more practical.
It is. I don't disagree with that. Yeah, as you can see the sideways ones behind me.
Yeah.
Randy says the worth is anything you got to pay extra for. There you go. Yeah, so he doesn't like the custom inserts.
I'm sorry if I'm butchering your name here. Jairul says Dice Throne, Endeavor is great, Fantasy Flight bad.
FFG bad, yep. Alex agreed Endeavor and Rurik, which I'm not familiar with Rurik's insert. And then
Curtis was saying, unfortunately, Endeavor used cheap plastic for the trays. If the plastic was a higher grade, it wouldn't have been destroyed so easily just by being in the box. So he's not agreeing with Endeavor, or he is disagreeing. I don't know exactly what they were trying to say there.
They have a whole conversation going back and forth about like how some of them were a little cheaper than others. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Jen said, worst Agricola. There is no insert, and there are a million pieces. Yeah.
Is that true, Danny?
So, well, Jesse replied and also said, that's true for most Bezier games too, and that is true.
Yeah.
I don't totally disagree with it, but I don't think that a void is a bad insert because.
No, same.
So, for example, I mean, like I understand that people's want to.
I do have a problem though. This might be another topic. Is the box sizes? Agricola has so much stuff that even when it's all jam packed in there, it still pushes the box lid up just slightly. And it's like, why didn't you just give us like a slightly larger box? I don't get it. I don't understand why people are afraid to increase the box size. This way it fits flush.
Yeah. Yeah,
Gloomhaven is a problem, and that's an already huge-ass box, and there's issues with that, so...
Well, yeah, that's just because of the tiles, but, like, everything combined for Agricola, I don't disagree with that, because I like to use the little token containers for that, and that just pushes it beyond the brim. So, I feel like that would be easily fixed if they put it in a Caverna-sized box that was, like, twice as thick, and just have, like, some extra room for whatever you want. That would be That would be a problem. I don't think it would need to have an insert.
Jesse says, best insert, Valeria. Everything fits like a glove, and the foam to keep the game bits in their holder is amazing. Megaland and My Little Scythe get an honorable mention as well. Worst insert is Splendor. It's a deceitful illusion of an insert. Even thinking about tipping the box on its side and everything spills everywhere.
Which is exactly why I mean... I never had that problem, but now that she brings it up, now that I think about it, I did used to rubber band that box. Because it gives you that expectation. It's like, man, this is going to be a good insert. But as soon as that thing goes beyond a 45-degree angle, all hell breaks loose, right? Tim... Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, Tim.
Federico replied to her, saying, yeah, constantly having to open up the box and put the chips back in their hole. Tim... says, FFG, what's an insert?
I'm sorry, I had to laugh at that one because it was hilarious.
Yeah, that's pretty great.
That's the only time I've ever interacted with the actual comments on our Facebook posts because I tried not to influence anything, but that was funny.
Yeah, it really was.
And Catherine, which is important here, it's going to be a shameless plug, was interested in how she can listen to the podcast and where is the best place to find it. First off, right here on twitch.tv, Everyday Board Games. You can also find our YouTube channel at Everyday Board Games 2020 on YouTube. And if you like what we do, please subscribe to that channel. We're trying to grow it. As well as the Podbean version of this, the audio version is on Podbean at Everyday Board Games Podcast. If you go to our Twitter account, which is EBG Podcast 2020, I have a link to every single one of those sections.
Yeah. Jamie replied, publishers should stop making inserts. I've never seen one I really liked. And it seems like a lot of people are... They brought up the idea of, are baggies just better? And in a way...
In a way it is, yeah.
I don't disagree with that.
I personally prefer the I'm going to just say the Dollar Tree things that we've been buying, the little token pieces.
Yeah.
But yeah, baggies are a close second for me. It just makes things so much cleaner and simpler to set up. The only problem I have with baggies is when you got the game out and you put the baggies, I try to keep them near where they're supposed to get, but they get tangled up in all the other things. Like, okay, which baggies did I use for which thing?
Right. Yeah, exactly. It's like, I know I had this size for these small tokens, but, you know.
And Daniel...
Hey, representing.
Waste of money and space. Gave me a smaller box at a lower price.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that.
I can see that. That's a valid argument, yeah.
And so, that's something that we should also talk about, is like the size of the box. I mean, we'll talk about the size of the box probably in a future podcast at this point.
Yeah.
But the size of the box doesn't influence the amount of... or the cost for shipping, actually.
Yeah.
The size only the weight matters for shipping. So like if you were getting crates of like 1,000 copies of a game, and each of them are 1 pound versus 2 pounds, It's literally going to be twice as much for the 2-pound box. Whereas if it's twice the volume, they don't care. Because they're just trying to...
My thing is, I have a problem with games coming in box sizes that just doesn't fit, especially expansions. The big point of this was Machi Koro. With all their expansions, they give you like this giant box, and it's like a deck of cards this big.
Yeah, and a baggie of tokens. You could keep it in a deck box. You really could. I can understand that. It was a decent insert, though.
Yeah, to me, it was just a waste of space. It's all it really was. Because, again, I don't keep a lot of my expansion boxes unless I need a second box to carry things. Like my Everdoe, I have both 2 boxes for Everdoe because there's just so much stuff. Same with Eldritchor behind me. I have 2 boxes because there's just so much stuff. But usually, I either keep the box covers to put like for wall art, which I'm building in my new office, and stuff like that. Other than that, I just get rid of them.
Yeah, that makes sense. Pierre says best would be Mechs vs Minions, which I have. Have you seen that insert?
Oh, yeah, I played Mechs vs Minions, and this is the one I was telling you about. I should have put on my list. I didn't even think of it. I don't own the game myself. That's why I don't.
Yeah, neither me. It didn't pop up. Yeah, otherwise it would have. And then worst would be 99% of FFG's games. No insert, no plastic bag, nothing. I think they have done a couple plastic bags now. And the trench. Like if you have to put them in the bag, like say Game of Thrones, the Iron Throne. I'm going through like my Fantasy Flight games that I own, and I have a plethora of them. If you look behind the shelf, I got Eldritchor over here, Game of Thrones, Star Wars Rebellion up there. No, they don't get baggies. I haven't bought any recent new ones, but I don't remember any baggies in any of these games. The only game that had baggies in it was Star Wars Rebellion, and I bought that secondhand. The ones that I do remember, so Game of Thrones Catan did have baggies. But Game of Thrones, the card game, had one baggie and it was holding all the cards. So it doesn't technically count. It came with a baggie, yes.
Alright, so Pierre also added he wanted to say Res Arcana is also a very good one, made for sleeves, made to accept the first expansion, usable in-game token tray.
Yeah.
I do have to say, we did play Res Arcana. That token tray is beautiful.
Yeah.
Where it keeps all the pieces, and it's one tray, so you have like a different area for everything, and it works beautifully.
Yep. I don't disagree with that.
Steven says, favorite of mine is Sorcerer City. So well laid out with symbols for everything. Worst, off the top of my head, is something like Stone Age. All baggies, and it takes forever to set up because of that.
Yep. Kiefer, apologize for not pronouncing the name right. I'd say best Dice Forge. Everything fits perfectly. You know exactly where everything goes. The box insert even doubles as both something to hold extra pieces and is actually part of the game while you play. The insert for Wizards Wanted is also a great insert. I don't remember the insert for Wizards Wanted. Yeah, I don't remember that one. I remember I saw it, but also some other good ones. Obscurio, that is a pretty phenomenal one. Time Stories, Camel Up, Coimbra. I disagree with Time Stories a little bit because it's very flimsy plastic.
Yeah, the plastic's a bit flimsy. My issue with Time Stories is that it has sections for everything. But you have that little small marker that goes in there, and it's hard. I got sausage fingers. I can't get it out sometimes.
See, my problem with that one, and this is a very specific one, and I'll go into his second half of his statement as well, and why I think Time Stories is. In my honorable mention, I mentioned something else that's similar to this. Time Stories, if you tilt the box sideways, the little marker is not flush with the box lid and will fall out into where the the little card things are, and you have to like bend it to put your fingers in there to pull that out. Yeah, that's obnoxious. Again, very specific, but
proves
obnoxious.
My point that you shouldn't store your game sideways.
I mean, if it gets jarred a little bit or a piece falls into that little spot, it's all lost anyway. Worst, Dinosaur Island. The insert is just absolute garbage. Can't fit all the things in there without consulting BGG, Board Game Geek specifically.
Yep.
I'd also put Gloomhaven on here, but given the sheer amount of stuff in there, I'm surprised it actually even fits. Some more of the worst.
So hold on, before you move on. Why did you have to clarify BGG? If you're listening to a board gaming podcast, you know what BGG is.
All right, you got a good point. Some more of the worst are Tang Garden, photosynthesis. Both are pretty much require you to disassemble things just to put it back in the box. I don't know about Tang Garden. Photosynthesis, I keep everything built, so I don't know.
I'm not familiar with either one of those, so.
Yeah, photosynthesis, there is some wiggle room, but it does hold everything built.
Josh Shinagames says, I've seen a Kickstarter delayed by weeks, months due to back and forth discussion between them and their manufacturer. Plus, nothing in the insert is labeled saying where to put everything. Either have a diagram stuck to the underside of the box lid, show how to repack everything, or forget the insert.
Yeah.
And then Josh adds, it's definitely not an easy process. I'm doing it at the moment, but I know it's going to take some time, made allowances. I can defiantly see why some publishers skip over it.
Yeah. That was Matthew, actually, who made that post.
Sorry.
And he posted a beautiful picture that gives an example. I'll show it on my screen real quick. Showing all of the levels of what you have to do to design a proper insert. And I think this is really a valuable thing. And Matthew, thank you for posting that. I think that's really neat to look at that and see all of the amount of work. Yeah, it's not small.
Why, when we bring up this discussion for people who work in the board game company, whether it's Ithri who joins us in our chats from time to time on Twitch, or when we brought it up to Keith Mateka from Thunderworks, it's something that kind of tweaks them a little bit in the wrong way.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It's always a little cringy, I'm sure. Every publisher you talk to about inserts. Shannon said, small employee, I'm assuming some is what she was trying to put. Some employee at FFG, we could make a nicely laid out insert with space for expansions in mind. FFG replying, can't hear you over this amazing trench. That's awesome.
Kyle says, the one that I had the most trouble with was Tower Rex, but it's still a great insert. I prefer the wooden ones usually instead of folded spaces because they are more custom fitting. My favorite company is the Broken Token, and I have a Scythe one on the way from them, actually. And I love the Broken Token. They are beautiful inserts that they create. However, me personally, if I'm going to buy an aftermarket, and this is not an ad, if I'm going to buy an aftermarket, I'm going to buy like the folded spaces. I'm going to buy the foam core, that what you just put like a little bit of glue to keep everything in place and do it. And here's why. The one I want to get for Broken Token, or for the game that I want to get an insert for, is Gloomhaven, just to help set up. It's set up as a beast in that game. And the folded spaces one I can get for $40 to $50.
Yeah.
The Broken Token is the price of a board game at $80. And I understand why. Don't get me wrong. I understand the cost effectiveness. But here's another issue with that. The folded spaces only adds a couple pounds to an already heavy game, 22 pounds. The Broken Token insert almost adds 10 to 20 pounds on its own, making that almost a 50-pound game.
Yeah, you can work out with it.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Sandor replied, worst insert lately, Mezzo, which I'm not familiar with that one. I'm going to Google it as soon as
I think it's called Mezzo.
Mezzo. Cheap plastic, which does not even fit the components, worse than the Gloomhaven insert.
Gloomhaven not getting any love today.
It's not. If there was one thing that we could debate that we can knock out Gloomhaven for, this is it.
This is it, yeah.
Quality. We could have done a top 8 debate for this.
Tim says, some good ones are Court of the Dead, Mourner's Call, Valeria Card Games, Thunderstone Quest Champions Edition, Mechs vs. Minions, Hero Realms Big Box, and Star Realms Big Box. And here is my reasoning for, I agree with him, but I also have to disagree with him on one aspect of this. Every single one of those games, except for Mechs and Minions, were Kickstarters.
Yes.
So they were able to use them for like stretch goals and stuff like that.
Yep, exactly. But then also you got to keep in mind stuff. Let's talk about the Hero Realms and Star Realms Big Box real quick. And I'm going to bring in Space Base, the Command Station, or the Smash Up Big Geeky Box. Those are boxes made specifically as they were understood that people wanted another storage solution to the big or to their box set that was already then. It didn't have a complaint about the original one, but that's
How's it
something
going,
they had
Canadian?
to do. Hey, Canadian collector, good seeing you again. So like I think Dungeon Mayhem did a really great example of that from Wizards of the Coast. Their original one was just in a tuck box basically, or the expansion was in a tuck box. The original game was in like a 2-well like double-sized card box. When they came out with their newest expansion with the monsters, it was 6 more monsters. How are they going to keep it together? They have a nice big box and slots for everything. It fits it all perfectly. It's really simple. That's why I feel like maybe that should have been thought of at the first thing, but then at the same time, how were you going to plan that many expansions or anything like that?
I didn't even think of this because of the big box thing with the Smash Up that you were talking about, the 2 that they've come up with. But for me, I think Smash Up's base game box was a really good insert for it. They had all the spots for every single card deck, even had enough room for the first expansion, because at the time, they only were planning maybe a couple expansions, so they had to think this through. They didn't know Smash Up was going to be as big as it is, and all that, so... Again, you just don't know how things are going to blow up. So I think the Smash Up main box was actually a pretty decent insert. I just don't think of it anymore because I have the big geeky box, and I want to get the bigger, geekier box.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a storage solution. Like right now, I need to get the Hero Realms box because I have all my hero stuff. I'm looking at it. It's in a long cardboard box. And I don't have anywhere to put it. 5-Minute Marvel, yeah, that does have a good insert. I agree.
And the same goes for 5-Minute Dungeon. I think their insert's just as well too. It's the same thing, but
yeah, I could pull it up later. Luke says the best would be anything by Folded Space. Really clever economical engineering. Worst would be Joki's CO2 Kickstarter, where they forgot to include the stretch goals, so a load of effort went into something that didn't fit all the pieces. That's heartbreaking.
So Jasmine says, best Mysterium, Jaipur, and Men at Work. Jaipur does have a beautiful insert for such a small card game.
Yeah.
Yes, Canadian Collector says, I love Folded Space's insert. Game trays, though, definitely take it to the next level. I do not disagree with you. Again, I just mentioned it a little earlier that I prefer the Folded Spaces because it doesn't add a lot of weight to a game, especially for heavier games like Gloomhaven over my shoulder over here.
Agreed. Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Clearly labeled in the case of Mysterium, there's spaces left for expansions. That's true. With everything being laid out neatly and already separated, set up as a breeze and end up on the table a lot more. Worst, Pandemic, Flashpoint, Fire Rescue, and Buffy the Vampire Slayer. There's no assigned place for everything and often slide together. It slows down setup and can be put off getting a game to the table.
Yeah.
Did I throw mine out?
For which one? Pandemic?
Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Oh. Well, while you're looking at that, I want to agree with Jasmine. I completely forgot about Men at Work. That is a really fantastic insert.
The Vampire Slayer out.
You threw it out? Yeah. I remember Flashpoint Fire Rescue has a special place in my heart because I used to own it back in the day, and that was the very first insert that I threw away. Or they didn't really have one, and that's when I bought like custom trays and stuff for that, and then I ended up trading it away anyway. But that's a good point. I mean, Pandemic, it has trenches, you know.
Yeah.
It's not, I don't think it's the worst. I think it's fine for what it is.
My only thing, the problem with Pandemic is they knew when expansion was going to come out, but they didn't leave enough space for the expansion. So I'm one of the people that like to keep everything in one box. I had to throw out the insert this way I can put in the I forget which expansion it is, but it adds like the Trader and the 6th disease and stuff like that. Yeah,
exactly. Or as our Canadian collector friend said, hates when inserts do not accommodate sleeves. Wait till you see my number 1. Just hang out with us. You're gonna love my number 1. Brian said Dire Wild has a really good insert. Biggest offended on our shelves has to be Gloomhaven. We opened it and simply could not put it all back until we had the broken token insert to use for it. Even then, though, it came at a cost of the 4 active character boxes not being able to fit. That's rough.
Yeah. So, not gonna lie, Gloomhaven is on my list, but it's not in the top 3. It
Honorable
is,
mention?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And the reason why it won't be in there, and I'll explain why it's not going to be in the top 3. You could probably guess why.
Yeah.
Chris says, well, worst insert is no insert, like Castles of Burgundy 20th Anniversary Edition. Best insert, I think, are the game trays ones specifically designed for the board game where they applied. And so I cannot have an argument for that. Game trays is phenomenal. I did have one of my games have an issue with the game trays, but I'll get to that when we talk about it.
Okay. And to add to Chris's though, I remember do you remember the original Castles of Burgundy? How it had like kind of like curved little wells. That was great for pulling the tokens out. But if you start it sideways, that's a water slide where all the tokens are launching out of it. It was,
again, more proof that you need to store your games this way.
I guess so. Maybe I do now. Anthony says the best one I've ever seen is Dwellings of Everdale with game trays.
That's actually not a game I'm familiar with. I have not played that one. I heard of it, don't get me wrong, and I do want to try it, but it's just not something I'm familiar with, so I can't comment on that.
Yeah.
Simon says, Fantasy Flight games, even when they try, it's a disaster.
Yeah.
I'm noticing a common theme here. So Canadian Collector says he's got to run. I will watch the recording after to hear all your thoughts. Happy Canada Day to all the Canadians, and Happy Independence Day to all the Americans in a few days. You have a great Canada Day, and enjoy your time.
Yeah, exactly. Enjoy, man. And thanks for swinging by. Yep. So, yeah, Simon said, yeah, so I'm going to defend Fantasy Flight here for a second. The Game of Thrones Catan actually does have a insert that holds all the tokens, holds all of it. It's actually fairly decent.
How many games does Fantasy Flight have?
I mean, I'm not justifying all of them. I'm just saying.
How many games does Fantasy Flight have? And you're like, well, this one is fine.
Yeah.
One game
that's the one.
Does not justify good inserts.
No, it doesn't. I just, because the next one, Michael, he replied, no way. When did they try? And that was the one.
Oh, I like what Ryan said. Marvel Champions? And it's funny that he mentions that because our mutual friend Dom bought the broken token for Marvel Champions because there wouldn't have been no spaces for any of the expansions. When it's a living card game, you need to make sure there's spaces for expansions.
Right. All right. Tanner said, Tanner said, best ones I've seen, Dice Forge and Wingspan. Mysterium was so close, but they don't give you a good spot for some of the bigger pieces like the clock and other board pieces. I completely agree with him on that. Like the clock actually has to sit unbuilt on the top.
Wingspan. Insert. Wingspan doesn't have an insert.
Oh no, I think he's talking about the. It
does have
a
diagram
tray.
how you're supposed to put everything back into the box,
right.
But it does not have an insert. It's an empty well. It's basically just the box, and this is how you put everything in there.
Yeah.
I'm like,
hey, apparently he enjoys that better than a bad insert.
Hey, I love it when they give you a diagram because that makes things so much easier to put away.
Isle of Cats and Magic Maze are so bad. Then again, there just isn't one. So he's talking about lack of inserts. All right.
Also, he added on that Pandemic is pretty terrible.
Yeah.
So Rodrigo says the worst are those that don't fit sleeved cards, and Canadian Destroyer was saying, or Canadian Collector was saying that earlier.
Yep. Justin says Broken Token and Meeple Realty, stained and detailed, absolutely gorgeous, and he actually posted a picture of the Rising Sun insert. Right here, I'll see if I can pull it up for our viewers.
Yeah, I've seen that. It's beautiful.
Yeah, that's phenomenal looking.
I've actually seen the Rising Sun insert, Broken Token insert, not the box that he has there, but it's an actual insert that you put into the game. Our mutual friend Nate has it, where it has just everything. You just pull out what you need, and they're all in their little own stands.
Yeah. Yep.
That is an amazing insert. But again, you have to use the big Dymo box, I think it is, as well as the base game box, just to store everything.
Right, exactly. And
all right, Andrew says, and I believe this is the last one, I think the upcoming game, Shiver Me Timbers, deserves a shout-out for insert they're designing for the game. It will fit everything, and they've designed the card storage slot so that you can hold your card sleeves by storing them in one direction or unsleeved in another direction. Means they'll fit properly, however you like your cards. To me, a bad insert is one that looks like it should do a good job, but in practice doesn't. For example, Lords of Waterdeep insert seems great until the box gets tipped, then everything goes everywhere.
Yep.
The folded space insert for it is brilliant enough.
Yep. There you go. So, thank you to all of our responders who are talking about that. This was an awesome discussion. I'm glad we got you all riled up. So none of my 4 honorable mentions were listed. Technically,
4 honorable mentions.
I have 4. I have 2 bad, 2 good.
Oh, 2 good. Yeah.
And out of my 3 worst, 1 was mentioned, and out of my 3 best, 1 was mentioned.
So one of my worst was mentioned. One of my honorable mention worst was mentioned. Let's see what else was mentioned here. Actually, 2 of my worst were mentioned.
Ah, okay.
That's in my top 3. 2 of them were mentioned. One of my honorable mentions. Another, I've already said what one of my honorable mentions is. But yeah. So, there we go. You ready to get this started? Get this going?
Yep. Since I have technically 1 more than you, even though you already brought up one of them.
Hold on. I have 1 more than you. I have 3. You have 2.
Oh, you have 3 for each?
I have 2.
Mentions?
So I have 6 games in total. Well, hold on. 12 games in total.
Oh, okay.
I have 3 honorable mentions and 3.
Okay. Then I technically have 10, so then you have more. Why don't you bring up that one that you already brought up real fast, and that was, I believe, that massive beast of a game behind you.
And it's also behind you, over your shoulder there.
Oh, what do you know? Look at that.
So, for me, and the only reason it goes into the honorable mentions worst is Gloomhaven. It's a massive game, so that's why it doesn't make my top 10, or my top 3, is because there's a lot going on in there. No matter how big this game is, since there's so much stuff, there's no logistical way you can make a great insert when you kickstarted it. There's a functional insert in there. It's got everywhere for all the player characters you can use, all the minis that go on the board. It's got some whales for the cards. It's got some whales that have places to stand the cards. It's got everything for the monster cards and stuff like that. But the tiles in the pieces, if you want to bag everything, which I highly recommend you do, because it just makes setup and storing a lot easier for getting to the game, because the teardown and bear down, it is one of the least functioning inserts I have ever seen. And again, a big part of it is just the tiles. There are so many tiles, to the point where on his most recent Frosthaven update, he is saying that he is going to go ahead and make books and supplemental books like he's done in the Jaws of the Lion if people want to buy those secondhand and use it. He says it does kind of lose its functionality because you have the ring and stuff like that, but if people want it, he'll give it to the people. He's still going to do tiles for Frosthaven, and I don't disagree with him. It just makes setup so much easier.
Right.
I have Jaws of the Lion here, and that is on my honorable mentions best, because the game itself is stored so simply, and we talked about it. It tells you how to store everything. It gives you a list of storing everything, from the tokens, how they go into the little tray that comes in the game, to how you bag all the monsters together and use their cards that they're going to use, put it in the bag with them, put their little token in there for their initiative. It's beautifully done, and I had to give a shout out. Once I bought it and looked at it, and I'm like, well, it's got to go on my list. I got it last week, and I'm like, well, I know what's coming up. It's going on my list, because everything has a spot, and then it tells you exactly where to do and put everything and store everything.
Yep. Awesome. Yeah, I don't disagree with that. We're gonna do one of each, right? One bad, one good. Okay. So my first good one. I'm sorry, my first bad one, it goes into the things not being flush with the top of the box, and that is Sushi Go Party is my first bad one. And that's because the cards work fine, the tiles are fine, but those little soy sauce bottles are down about an inch from the top of the lid, so they just fall everywhere as soon as you
again,
tilt
to me,
it
that's a
even a little
detriment
bit.
of not only the box, but it's also the detriment to the fact that it's in a tin.
Right.
Because the tin has that lip where it goes up. It doesn't sit
flush
flush when you're having
right.
the box collapse on itself.
Yep, I completely agree. And there's not a spot in the insert for the tiles themselves, so I store them with the cards, which isn't too bad, but it's still kind of like, I would have liked to see the randomized tiles separately. I just thought that there wasn't enough thought put into it. Now, I have seen like a later version of it, or maybe it was an earlier version where they changed to like a cardboard insert, and that seemed to be a little better, but I have the plastic one that just it's absolute garbage. But a good insert, and this is basically just a generic cardboard insert, but it's good because of the aesthetic that it provides, and that's for Treasure Island. It basically has a well in it, but there's another part where there's like wooden planks and there's like some art on it, and it actually opens up to reveal like a little hidden like compartment that I like to put all of like Captain Blackbeard's stuff in there, you know, just because that's not only does it sort it out really well, it has that little door. It's just super thematic. That's just a nice little flair that they added into it. I think that's a phenomenal insert.
Not bad. So my next honorable mention on this list, I'm going to go ahead and say these are IP games. And the only reason this one is on my worst list is for a couple reasons. It's villainous, but it's mainly the first edition, where everything you had to put in bags. It had wells and stuff like that, but a buddy of mine had the first edition where it had all the wells. And it works now because he's able to put more and more stuff in it with the expansions going on. But in the second edition, when you got it, the insert had a spot for everything. You had the well for the, if you notice it above me right there, where you keep all the power tokens. It had a spot for all the individual player pieces, for the boards, the cards, and stuff like that, and for it to be bagged or sleeved, however you want it. And I thought that was great. But then I ran into a problem with that insert as well as the first insert. Expansions. They didn't make any room whatsoever for all these standalone expansions that they're making. Whereas, like, I don't want that many box shelves on my thing. I want to put everything in there. So I have everything in one box, or I have everything in two boxes right now because I know there's going to be more. So I know I'm going to need one of the long boxes just to hold all the player boards, and all the other box to hold like the powers and the player tokens. And it's frustrating. It's like, why? They need to give me a big box where I can just put everything in there. And I won't be surprised if they don't do something along that lines later on. But
sorry to interrupt you. Have you seen the post on Board Game Geek about it? There was actually, there was a rep who went on there, and they were talking about, somebody brought up the villainous the box and the insert and all that stuff, and someone from Ravensburger did say it's like we don't have anything confirmed or anything like that, but just know that your voices are heard and we do keep you in mind.
So like I said, I'm not going to be surprised if they don't do it, because people are getting upset. You can't. A lot of people like to keep their games together, especially with Villainous.
Yeah.
The expansions are just plug and play. All you got to do is, okay, I want to play Little John, and they want to play, let's see, the Evil Stepmother or something like that, which is in one of the expansions. Or
you don't want to take out two boxes.
Yeah, it's just a plug and play. It doesn't add anything new, except, well, it does. It adds a new way to play the game, but because it's so asymmetrical, that's fine.
Yeah.
It's not something you have to learn. But for the best part of this is, actually, I'm surprised you haven't talked about it, is the Rising games. And I say Rising games like Death Eater Rising, Darkseid Rising, Thanos Rising, the Batman Who Laughed Rising, and then I think there's another one you said was coming out, SpongeBob Rising. But the insert is gorgeous. It's got a place for the cards, it's got a place for your token pieces, and it's got a place for that giant-ass plastic piece, as well as the well itself fits the little boards that go in there as well. For the Death Star Rising, it has that little circular thing for the Death Star, and stuff like that. So I think it's an amazing insert for what it is. But wow, are they coming out with a lot of Rising games? Right.
No, it crossed my mind. I didn't include it just because it's a good insert. It does functionally what it needs to do, and that's it. Like it's nothing specifically notable in my opinion. it's a good insert. They did a good job.
And that's why it's in one of my honorable mentions.
Yep. So my next one is, for the worst one, is Arena of the Planeswalker, Magic the Gathering. Do you remember the insert for this?
What insert?
So technically there was one. So the way the game was made was you would have, it was a big, like, Milton Bradley sized box, right? It was massive. And it was a lot longer. And there was an insert for it, but it would sit on the side, and it was only like part of it, and everything else was just kind of like lumped in there, because that plastic insert, the boards would fit under it, because you had to show off the pre-painted miniatures of the Planeswalkers up against the clear part, the window of the game.
Oh, God.
And so, if you wanted to do that and show it off properly, you would have to put that in. Then they came out with the first expansion, which was just a little tuck box, like cheap cardboard tuck box, so you'd be expected to put the stuff in the other game. And they created a second standalone expansion, Shadows over Innistrad, that did effectively the same thing, except if you had one of the big monsters from one of the expansions that you had to assemble, it was too wide to fit in the box. So that's another problem with the box itself. It's more of a problem with the box than it is with the insert. But that insert, you would be expected to keep it and put it on top of the boards. It was obnoxious. It was dumb. But that's why it's an honorable mention and not one of the final ones. But my honorable mention for good, and this is because the insert was very, very functional in the game, that would be Pandemic Legacy. And now think about that. The insert itself was actually, it was a good insert. You know, it just had the spaces for the cards and all the components, but then it would have the other tuck boxes that you would open up and to reveal the hidden information. And they did a really good job. And the card well for the story deck, you would pull up and it would keep it flat where you wouldn't be able to see any of the cards below it. And you just reach in and you pull off the top card, and it worked really well. I think that's worth noting of how good that insert was.
I can't argue that point. It actually was on my short list for best insert because of that. It made it where you won't get any secrets, basically. You had your spot for your tuck boxes, you have your spot for your cards, you have your spot for your characters that you're playing, and the stuff that you need for that. And so, I found it amazing. And they left enough room as you go along. If you open these boxes and stuff that needed to go in, new spaces and stuff like that, there was enough room to add and go as you went along. So I think that was amazingly done too.
Cool. Thank you. I agree with myself.
So my last honorable mentions here are worst. It's been mentioned. I said it's been mentioned. You've already went into detail why it was mentioned, and that's Barron Park. Yeah. That insert, just give us an empty space. I'm sorry. At that point, just take out that stupid little thing and just give it the empty space. That's what people are going to do anyways.
Yep.
So I don't see why they did it. Love the game. Barron Park is probably one of my favorite games out there. Probably top 20.
Really?
It's such,
wow.
It might be lower. I don't know, but it's up there. I really dig it. Anytime someone says, "Hey, let's play Barron Park," I'm always down to play it. I do want to try the expansion stuff like that. I really enjoy it. But again, not to beat a dead horse. It's been already thrashed thoroughly, and I'm gonna beat a deader horse here coming up soon. So, but my best is, and again, it goes along the line with the Kickstarter stuff that I was saying earlier. But for me, when it comes to like the Kickstarter inserts, if it's something that gets unlocked and it's going to be in all the games rather than just in the Kickstarter games, it's going to make my list because it made it better, and that's Reavers of Midgard behind me. The insert, the reason why really it's good. In my honorable mention, there was a problem with the trays, but they went ahead and fixed it. They're like, hey, this is not what we paid for. Let's go ahead and send it to you. We'll send you a new one that is thicker and not cracking and stuff like that. And it's functional. It's beautiful. I love it. Makes setup so much easier, in my opinion. And so, that's why Reavers of Midgard makes my honorable mention. There was an issue with it. They fixed it, and the insert works functionally for the game. So, yeah.
There was one that I had just remembered right now when you were talking about how easy the function of the insert matters. And I'm just going to give it a quick shout out, and that's the 8-bit box by Yellow. because you have like the controllers. That is the insert, but then that insert is also the box that looks like a console, and you open up the insert, and then that's where all the bits are, and then the rest of the box is just empty space for the cartridge boxes. Like that's a really well planned insert as well. I want to give them a shout out.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with you. I've been wanting to pick it up. I've seen it on sale, like on Amazon and stuff like that. And I want to pull the trigger because I heard good things. I've heard bad things. Like some of the games are really good, and some of the games in there are kind of.
They're fine.
Yeah, but sorry if you see me waving around. There's a fly in here and it's bothering me.
I was wondering about that.
No.
Right.
But yeah, so I don't disagree with you. I do want to pick it up. It's been there again. He's not in our chat, but we talked to him. Tabletop Bellhop. He keeps putting it on Twitter, and I keep looking at it. And I'm like, I can't pull the trigger right now. But yeah,
it does look fun. I have played a couple of the games. They are really fun.
All right, so you ready to get into the thorough hatred and love?
All right, I'm okay with being either first or second, first or last, because like I said, my third worst was named a lot, and my first best was named a few times.
So I'm gonna go ahead and start us off. Okay. Because I want you to go last with your number one overall, because it's gonna be fun to listen to.
Okay. Oh my god. All right.
Okay. And plus, you got show and tell for our audiences watching the video.
I do. It's ready to go.
So for me, the third on this list is, and I'm going to go ahead and start with the worst because, again, I told you I was going to beat a dead horse, and that's going to be Fantasy Flight games. I agree with what everybody is saying. I understand what you're saying about the trench and stuff like that.
Sure.
I throw it out. And here's my problem with it. It's fine for card games that you have a bunch of cards and you can put them in the trench. However, their storage solution for games that have bits and bobs is to lift one of the trench and store it underneath.
Stick it under, yeah.
It's just going to start tearing up. It's going to be annoying. It's going to be frustrating. So at the point where I try to keep it in my Elder Tour, at the point I just in the Game of Thrones, I was like, no, I'm done with this. And I threw it out, and I threw it away. And I was like, no, it's just easier to store it like this. Yep. And that was my issue with it. I'm like, if you're going to put an insert, make it functional. Don't just give me places to put the cards and then have to lift this up, throw things bagged up under there, and hope it all stays fine. No. Just either don't give me an insert or don't even make that effort. The artwork's nice, but that's all I could say about it.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I don't disagree with that.
And because the reason why one of my best here is Days of Wonder. Days of Wonder put in a lot of effort to make sure their inserts are functional and store everything that needs to be stored properly. You look at and they didn't really do well for this on the expansions, but you look at Small World. Everything had a place. You knew where everything was. You know how everything went in the place. You have the board, the sections, and stuff like that. Beautifully done. And then you look at behind me. What is it called? Quadropolis. Quadropolis has an amazing insert.
It really does.
Probably one of my favorite inserts in a board game because everything has a place and it tells you exactly where it needs to go. Oh, these are the special tiles for this era. Put them back here.
And they're all labeled. Yeah.
Beautiful insert. Ticket to Ride has a decent insert.
Yeah, I mean it has.
Five Tribes has a beautiful, decent insert. It's Days of Wonder really puts an effort into making functional inserts. I guess that's what happens when you do like one big game a year.
Right, exactly. I hope their new one will be good.
Yeah.
So my number 3, I'll start with worst, just because it's been listed so much. Can you guess it? I know you can. I've ranted about it.
Huh? Oh,
I've ranted.
Is it, what is that game called? You Own It, right? It's Baron Park.
Baron Park. One of my favorite games. So bad. That insert. That was one of the first that popped in my head as soon as I was like, oh, bad insert.
Truth be told, that's actually Baron one Park. Of my first that popped in my head, too.
Yeah, it's notoriously bad. It's, like, I mean, leave it empty. Just, like, the fact that you included the insert part of it. Square pieces do not fit in triangles. They don't. It's so frustrating. Like, I remember, and I tried it. I gave it a chance. I built the insert, and I put the pieces in, and I just looked at it going, wow, that's awful. And not only does it not fit, it doesn't fit to the box lid. it doesn't fit all the way up, including the board. Yeah. So you have a space of gap. So even if you choose not to use the baggies, which they include because they knew how stupid it was, if you did not use the baggies, then everything's just, it's all going to go everywhere. There's no point of it. It's counterproductive. It's hard to reach into the little wells or the little corners of that with trying to get pieces out. They don't fit. You're going to bend up their corners. Nothing's going to fit right ever again. It ruins the game. Barron Park is by far one of the worst, hands down one of the worst.
I don't disagree with you.
It is the third worst.
I found worst games. I'll say this. It is the worst Phil Walker Harding insert I've ever seen.
We'll talk about that later.
Oh! Oh, that's right. You do have that one.
We'll talk about it later.
I don't own that game, so I haven't seen it.
All right, so, but my number 3 best, and granted this was a Kickstarter, and which is why it had an internal one, but it did come with that, and it's a Game Trays insert. It is Grim Forest. Because not only does Grim Forest include just a gorgeous insert, first off, like the cards that, like if you need to get the cards from the wells, you push it down on one of the edges, you lift them right out, works perfectly. But then there's 2 containers that hold a lot of the resources. One is all the 5 value ones, and one's all the single value ones. And you bring those pieces out, and you just take the lid off the tray, and there they are, functionally ready for you to play in the game. It couldn't have been done better. They did a really good job, and it looks nice too. It's actually aesthetic to the game itself, so it looks like you're built like the house is the tray, you know. And so you bring it out. It's gorgeous. They did a good time. Everything works really well. It increases the value and the immersion of the game. It was really a hit for me, and that was the insert for Grim Forest, made by Game Trays.
So my next worst is, it doesn't really have a good insert anyways, but I had to put it in here even if it's just about the box, is New York Slice. You have all those freaking slices, and it just does not fit properly in there. You could either got me a bigger box or a better insert, or figure out how to put all those triangular pieces in there properly. It's horrible. It is probably one of the worst things. And again, it goes along the lines, if I remember correctly, it's a Bezier game.
It is.
So it's horrible. It's horrendous. Do something with it. Come on, people. But yeah, that's all I got to say about that. It's just all those pizza slices that you're using in the game to make a really fun game. Give us something that holds it in the box. I have to have other games sitting on top of it to make sure the box lid stays shut.
That's pretty bad. I don't disagree with you on that.
But my second best is actually on the shelf right behind me. You can see it right there. Wasteland Delivery Service. Again, it goes along the lines with the Kickstarter, but it's in the base games that you can buy in the shop. In fact, my copy of Wasteland Delivery Service is something my wife got me for my birthday. It was after the Kickstarter and everything. She just picked it up, I think, like at a Barnes & Nobles or an Amazon as a birthday gift, and it has a gorgeous insert, and it's got an instruction like, hey, you put these here, you put this here, you set these here, you pull these out, there's your game tray functional, everything you need is in here, all the things you're upgrading for your car is here, your car pieces go in here. It's a beautiful insert. Everything has a place, everything fits properly, and it actually makes you recycle, because all the punch board that's in the game, it makes you recycle the punch board by putting it under. This way everything's flush. So if you wanted to, you could store it sideways and nothing falls out. So I think it's a great job, well done of insert, because it's also functional for gameplay too. Where like you have all your equipment that you're going to buy for the cars, or the resources that you're going to be using in the game for transporting and stuff like that. Beautifully done. Cool.
Yeah, good pick. All right, my number 2 worst, which it's technically the third Phil Walker Harding game that I've talked about. I'm not going to belabor it too much. It's Cacao. And the reason why, this insert is deceptive. It's exactly what they were talking about. Every solution that you could have with this insert, they have found a way to thwart it and make it awful. So when you first open it, it looks like a really great insert. They even have little wells for every meeple. Like, then that's awesome. Everything has a perfect tile well. Every coin has like a perfect row of wells. They're sized perfectly. You can get your fingers under it. That's great. They designed a good insert, except all of the punch boards sit on top of it. So imagine here's the box right here, and there's the punch boards right here of everything you have to punch out.
Yeah.
When you punch it out, you put them into the insert perfectly, right? But that leaves an inch room above the top of the insert where everything is flush to the top of the box, that as soon as it's sideways, and I know this is a common theme, but everything just goes everywhere. So everybody who I told this to, they're like, okay, well, do whatever anybody else would. Put the punch board underneath the insert to make it flush. You can't. They made it so you can... Actually, you know what? I threw out that insert. I was so mad at it. But they put the top of the box, or the top of the sides of the insert, like the bottom inch or so, flush with the box lid. So in order to make the rest of the insert flush, you have to cut that off. There is a permanent gap. Or, to solve it by putting it sideways, you have to leave the punch board in. I have another example of it that entertained the crowd because it's a small game that it didn't quite work, but it has to do the same thing. So, entertain the crowd. I'll show you what I mean.
And again, he makes this a show and tell, disregarding our audience that listens to an audio.
Well, I'm not trying to ignore them, but this is really one of those things. Search it, you'll see what I mean.
Oh, I've seen it. Yeah, you were showing it to me when you first got it. It was not a fun insert. You were ranting and raving when you opened it.
Oh yeah, that made me so mad. It was beyond help at that point.
Oh my god, that's funny. But other than that, yeah, I'm just waiting for him to do my number one. Show and tell here, okay? But yeah, like for me, going back to what we were saying about Kickstarters, a lot of time the Kickstarters are a Kickstarter exclusive insert or game trays and stuff like that. I love it when they say, hey, we're going to unlock this, but it's going to go into all the games now, and that's important.
Baba Yaga by Yellow and Brain Games did the same thing. Look at how you open up the insert. Notice how I still have the punch board in this one, because you have to. Because the well here, the Baba Yaga piece is almost flush with the board, where you can see cards falling. That's because this is the empty space that's left. So you can't push that insert up. Look at how much gap there is. In order to attempt to keep stuff in, you have to keep the punch board that you would normally throw away just to keep everything in here. And it's still falling. You see what I mean? That is infuriating. That is so stressful. I cannot stress that enough. But my next good one, though, the second best insert, and the only reason why it's not the best is because there is one specific thing that I wish they would have done differently, and that is War Chest by AEG.
Ah, okay.
War Chest has an insert that has a lid on it, and you're keeping all of these poker chips inside of it at an angle where they're easy to see, easy to pull out, really good, and the lid fits perfectly flush on top of it, and it holds everything in place. In fact, that insert also has a really good job of leaving enough room for every poker chip, because not every character has the same amount of chips. Some might have a lesser ability and more poker chips, so they leave you enough room for all of that. And then down below that plastic insert, there's a cardboard insert that holds the cards and the bags pretty much perfectly inside of that.
Okay.
It's really good. The only problem that I have with it is that there's no way to really pull out the insert from the box, which that's one that I do keep sideways. And that's because you have to like reach in and kind of like bend out the cardboard a little bit to pull out the insert. It's a small thing, but it's a really good attempt at it, and I really like that insert that they put in it.
Can't argue that.
Yeah.
So my number one worst has been mentioned.
Okay.
It's actually a game I own. You can't see it, but it's right behind me.
Okay.
It's made by the same company that made Wasteland Delivery Service.
Okay, so Pandasaurus.
Yeah.
I don't know. Dinosaur Island?
Yep.
So what makes this the worst? This isn't the first one that brought it up.
It to me is like there's so much in it that it doesn't have a functional insert. It's one of those inserts that I had to throw away, and it's just like because there's so many boards, there's so many pieces that, and it was a Kickstarter game. They've shown that if you do a Kickstarter, they can put awesome inserts in. Wasteland Delivery Service is proof of that.
Okay.
And so, and Wasteland Delivery Service doesn't have or isn't light when it comes to pieces. There is a lot of pieces in that one as well, and it's to the point where I have to figure out how to jerry-rig everything in there for my box to be flush. The insert itself had to be thrown out because that wasn't going to allow it. And then everything had to be put in there in, like, jerry-rig. Again, it goes to me also with the box size. They could have done slightly bigger box. But so you could have done something to the point where people need to buy, like, a folded space or, the Broken Token or any of the third-party insert spaces. Yeah. To get it to work, and I have a big issue with it. I had a problem with it. There was just so much going on in there, and again, because of that, and it's the same reason for Gloomhaven, is that the functionality of it makes it a bear to set up. That's why it doesn't get to the table a lot. It's there because there's so much going on. Whereas with Wasteland Delivery Service, it's as long as a game, there's the same amount of stuff, but it's much easier to get to the table because it's not that hard of a setup or a teardown.
Okay, I can see that. That makes a lot of sense.
And to the point where I'm talking about this, my best insert that I own and personally is one of the first things that went on my list is Tapestry, right over here. And that's because everything has a functionality. You have your things, you take them out. Everybody has their own player pieces. They're in their own bags and stuff like that. The buildings have their own section inside the insert itself that you take out as you need it. That's got little cardboard pieces when you're doing a setup. You just take those buildings out and you put them in their cardboard pieces. That's where they go. It's amazingly set up. And a big part of it to me is why inserts are important is to help with setup. Yes. Where you know everything is, where everything goes, makes things a lot easier, especially when you got those trays for everything you need. Tapestry did a phenomenal job of making, can be a relatively long game, and a lot of stuff going on into it, a quick setup. I can get Tapestry set up in maybe 5-10 minutes, if that. Yeah. Whereas Dinosaur Island, it's good 15-20 minutes to get it properly set up. And then another 15-20 minutes to break down. The longest part of Tapestry is making sure each of the individual buildings go into their spots that they need to go into. It doesn't take that long, especially since there's a little diagram on the box cover like he did in Wingspan. Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
So yeah, that's why Dinosaur Island's my worst, because oh my god, and Tapestry is my best, because again, a big part of inserts and functionality is to help with setup.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. That's awesome. I'm gonna go with my number one best first because it's been listed off a couple times, and to be entirely honest with you, I am incredibly surprised that you didn't put this on your list. I thought this was gonna be a crossover because we both own it, and it's hands down one of the best inserts that I've seen as far as function of storing everything, but it is used in the game as well. Can you guess it?
Hold on, used in the game. Insert that we both own. Trying to see. Oh, yeah. Dice Forge. I didn't put it on my short list. And there's a reason why I didn't put it on my list.
Why is that?
The dice. The dice faces. Trying to put them back into that sleeve can be frustrating at times. And
yeah.
And then putting everything back, like after you do the dice face and putting everything back right properly in the thing, that's why it got bumped off my list. It was on my list, it just got bumped off because of again, that. For me, a lot of times with the insert, the functionality, making it easier for setup, it does not make it easier for setup or teardown when you have to put each one of those dice faces back.
Yeah, I feel like yeah, and that's just a problem with the game itself.
Another thing that's bothersome about it is one of your reasons why you hate games if you put them on the sideways, is because if you put it sideways, things will fall out of it.
It doesn't, though. The way that they design it, mine doesn't. I can prove
it. Every time I take that game down and I put it sideways in a carry bag and stuff like that to take to like the shop and stuff like that, I'm always having to dig stuff out of the sides. And the little skull piece that's supposed to be the tracker, as well as some of the cubes will slide out and move into different spaces where it shouldn't. So that's my issue with it.
It could have been a little bit better as far as that, but I'll be honest, mine is stored sideways. Yeah. And because of the way that they have everything flush, it does a very decent job of keeping almost everything in place. Yeah. There is a couple of little tokens that do wiggle out from time to time, yes. But most of them don't, and that's surprising considering that that's the case.
No, if you store it sideways, it's fine. But if you're taking it again, like I don't have one of those flush bags that you have where you can store games in to take like as a backpack. Oh yeah. I have those carry bags. Yeah. So even like just the slight jostling and the moving, it's going to move stuff out of space. Okay. That's my issue with it. That's why I didn't make my list.
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah. If it's stationary sideways, then it does a good job of holding everything in. But yeah, I get the movement part of it because when I do transport it, it's flat. So, but yeah, no, I love that insert. It's so good.
It is a good insert.
It's so good. It helps.
It was on my short list, honestly. Yeah. Another reason why I didn't put it on there was because I was like, it might be on Danny's list or it might be in the audience list, and I want to get some love to like say Tapestry. No one ever mentioned Tapestry. No. And that has a beautiful insert in it. Wasteland Delivery Service is another one that didn't get mentioned, and even you have to admit, as much as you hate the game, that's a great insert.
I didn't look at the insert, to be absolutely honest with you. I didn't see it. So, next time I come over, show me the insert, and I'd be like, man, what a waste of time. No, I'm kidding. I actually really respect the people at Pandasaurus, right? And the designer of it. I just had such a bad time with it. But I guess it's neither here nor there.
All right, let's get your rant going. Come on.
My number one worst insert, and I do have it here with me, and this is the only insert that is so bad, I kept it in the box to warn people away from this insert. This is not so bad that I threw it away. This is so bad that I comically kept it. And so, let's rewind about 20 years back, a couple decades, okay? There's a company that is thriving in the United States, and they are known as Mayfair. You know, they had some big successes with Settlers of Catan and all these things, and they're doing some good things. And now, Settlers of Catan, that insert, pretty good. But their older one, it didn't really have much of one, an insert or at all. I don't remember if it did, but I don't think it did. But not a big deal, right?
Yeah.
So they knew that making an insert is difficult, because it is. And so what do you think their solution was to that? I'm curious to know what your thoughts are.
Not make an insert?
No, that would have been the easy way out. They're like, we know we need to make an insert, but what's the easiest way to do it? Any idea?
Not really. Put plastic in it?
So, they made a series of smaller games, and this is the one I'm going to be showing off, Alibi. By the way, if you get a chance to play this, it's a really good deduction game. It's really fun. Alibi is a fantastic game, and it's you take some cards, you write down information, not a big deal. And I'm going to show you this insert, okay? But first I want to show you the components. We have a writing pad here, and we have the rule book.
Sorry for our audio listeners. He's That's making it a show and tell again.
Yep, no, audio listeners, go to Board Game Geek, pull it up. Here's the score sheet. This is that way you can keep track of all this stuff that's in here, okay?
Okay.
That's almost the same size as the box. That's fine. Okay? And then the other components we have here is a pretty sizable deck of cards, you know, which is needed for the game. Okay? It's just a card deduction game. So what Mayfair did was they knew that they had to make an insert. But they're like, we don't want to go through all the time of planning how to make an insert. We're going to make a generic template insert that should work for all of our games. And you have this it doesn't even fit in the box properly.
Sorry for our headphones users.
Yeah. So
oh God.
Blame it on the insert. So I'm gonna hold it in. Notice how it has wells for like different things. Like this would be for tiles. This one here is for cards. And notice how like the bottom, it doesn't go all the way to the bottom of the box. That's because that would make sense. And then you have like for bigger stuff, like a double thing for cards here that kind of technically works. These don't fit the cards properly. They don't they're not big enough. They just, like, look at how this card is bent and stuck in this part of the insert. This part, like, it's like a weird little angle thing. I don't know what... It's not the right size of the cards. Nothing else fits. There is one single well that fits the cards that properly, but because it is not made all the way to the bottom of the box, it only holds half of the deck. So the other half just has to be thrown right here in, like, this weird... expansive cavity that has no function for this game right now. This is so infuriating to me because you have all of this space that could have been utilized. I mean, I don't understand what the point of this insert is. This actually makes it frustrating to put the card game away. And this is why I'm assuming this is the core reason why Mayfair is no longer in existence. This right here. There's no other reason, as far as I'm concerned. No, this is the worst insert I've ever seen in my life. Because they decided, instead of designing an insert or doing something that would be functional, to make a generic template to hold the components for any of their games that might fit in this box. And while it technically does fit, that's a technicality at best. It fits better without the insert because you're forced to waste space. It's so bad. Anybody who knows me and who lives in this area, if there's ever a time that you want to see this in person, I will gladly bring it to you to tell you the woes of how bad that insert is. This is the definition of the worst insert ever. I don't think you can disagree, Daniel. I don't think you've seen that before, but...
No, that's a bad insert. The only things I could think of is, and I didn't put this on my list because I don't really play these games, but there's a mass market game out there. You got your Monopolies, you got your Clues and stuff like that. So my wife's a fan of Rick and Morty.
Oh, okay.
So she got the Rick and Morty Clue.
Oh, okay.
That insert in that box size is ridiculous for what's in there. You got the board is decent size, but the insert has so much wasted space. You got like a little small deck of cards that could fit in like the itty bitty tiny little corner. That's it. It's a horrible insert. I'm like, really? Come on, man.
Mean, having a waste of space for an insert. Do you remember that Trek in America game that we had that was about half the size of Gloomhaven's box?
Whoa. Don't throw me into the we had.
Oh, sorry. I had. Right. But I've shown you it. It's about half the size of Gloomhaven's box, and it's for a deck of cards and like 6 pawns. And like, so literally it's a brick of cardboard, like just a block of cardboard that's just stuck in there. So that way it would justify a box that thick and this wide and that tall.
Yeah, no, you know? it's bad. So again, this is tongue in cheek. We're having fun with it to everybody there. The big fact of the matter is, inserts aren't important to games, honestly. If you don't like it, throw it out. If you want an insert that's functional and helps you out, get one of the aftermarkets. I know they're pricey and they can. Or do what our friend did. He made his own insert for Terror in Meeple City. Rampage, in this case.
Yeah, I did.
If you get some foam cord, you can make your own inserts. It's not easy, but it's not hard to do. You can, and it's not going to be pretty sometimes, but yeah, you can.
And it's a fun little cathartic project. Yeah, this was definitely one of our sillier lists. But I had to rant about Alibi. That was that was the whole purpose of this list.
I have to say this with what Keith was saying last Monday or on Monday. People are really passionate about inserts.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, you wouldn't expect it to be that passionate about it, and we also kind of were a little naive asking people about it.
Yeah.
Like, we might have hurt some feelings.
What made it fun is that we were asking, like, game designers and publishers. Well, we asked, like, Keith, and then a friend of ours, It3, works for Level 99. He was talking about it, and both of them went on little rants about inserts.
Yeah, it's a hard thing, and those who make good inserts, they really... Like, we appreciate their effort that they did that.
And those who make bad inserts, we're not really trying to be rude to you, except for maybe the Alibi one, but that's beside the point. But it's more of a tongue-in-cheek, like my rant on Fantasy Flight. Again, I understand what they're doing, I understand what they're going for, but if you don't like it, just take it out.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't have to be in there. and you being the gamer that you are, you can figure out a better design for the insert and a better solution for storing it.
Like I said, Gloomhaven's my favorite game of all time. I understand the insert. I understand the functionality of it. Yeah. I want to get something better for storage-wise, but it just... For setup, the thing is, that thing is such a bear to set up. I know the folded spaces or the broken token for this fact can help you with it because it has everything. You just take what you need out for the trays and stuff like that and the tiles. I want to get something like that. I need to get something like that just to make it easier on me. But again, it's pricey. I understand why people don't do it. I know for like you have a 3D printer. You could print yourself out a Gloomhaven insert. The only thing is, it's going to cost you a lot when it comes to the spools and stuff like that.
The plastic itself won't be that bad. It's actually really efficient. But it's the time. This Splendor tray right here, a total of 16 to 17 hours for the 2 pieces.
Yeah.
That's only at 20% infill, you know, but that's to show you the amount of effort that it goes into it. It's not the cost of it. It's fine. It's where vacuum form inserts, they're just like, you know, one design and they're just like the plastic is nothing. It's the amount of design and effort going into it that matters.
Well, and the time and stuff like that. But like I
only own one broken token insert too, so
the plastic itself, it's not going to be cheap for you when it comes to like the spools and the plastic and stuff like that. And I'm not saying that it is, but just the time. Honestly, just thinking about it off the top of my head, it's going to take you almost a week to finish every single piece you need, if not longer, for Gloomhaven, because you're going to need stuff for all the tokens. You're going to need all the stuff for the place to put the player character stuff, the minis, the enemies, trays, and stuff like that. So it's going to take time. I could say it'd probably take you half a month just to get everything for a place. Not even just an insert to put everything, but just get everything their own little sections.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to look into it, see what Gloomhaven inserts that they have that are printable and what their solutions are. I'm assuming it's like deck boxes for all the cards and whatnot.
Yeah, so for me personally, I am looking into it. I'm hoping there'll be some to buy within a couple weeks. I'm going to buy the Folded Spaces Gloomhaven insert just to make my life so much easier. Yeah. Because I love that game. I want to get back into it, but a mutual friend of ours, Jim, because of lockdown, we haven't really got together. So it's like... That's why I got Jaws of the Lion. I can still get my Gloomhaven fixed.
I know. It's been almost half a year since I've played that. Or it's probably been more than half a year. I got it before Christmas.
It was a birthday gift, right?
Yeah, it was.
So you got it like in December, late November, and it's 6 months now. So it's going on 7 months.
That's hurting me. It's hurting me. But
I think the last time we played Gloomhaven was around that same time, towards the latter part of 2019. We were going to start up. He had like trips, and we had issues with my wife's work and stuff like that to try to figure out how to get the logistics of getting together. Yeah.
All right. So
but we're ranting and raving. We should finish up this podcast.
Absolutely. So this was a fun discussion topic. Coming up on Friday, we have a top 8 debate of the top games ranked under ranking 1,000. Yeah, so
on BGG, on Board
Game Geek. So anywhere from 1001 onward.
I actually have the game's ranking on here as well. So let's go ahead and break down what it is. Our number 1 game is Fireball Island. It is ranked at 1007 on BGG, facing
our number 8 game, Gravwell, which I don't have the ranking.
Which is 1049.
Okay.
Our number 2 game, Welcome to the Dungeon, which is at 1011.
Versus our number 7 game, Atlantis Rising 2nd Edition,
which is at 1046. Our number 3 game, Sentient, which is at 1015.
Versus our number 6 game, Dead Man's Draw,
which is at 1043. Our number 4 game, Unmatched, which is at 1018.
Versus our number 5, which is Cosmic Encounter,
which is at 1040, and just to reiterate, this is the 1977 edition of Cosmic Encounter.
The original version, that's right. Alright, so that'll be a fun one. We don't have a guaranteed plan for Monday or next Wednesday for our Chits and Giggles, so hang out with us then. We'll announce it later on, but other than that...
Possibly on Friday.
Possibly on Friday, exactly. So check out our YouTube channel, Everyday Board Games 2020.
You can also subscribe if you can on that podcast or on the YouTube channel, as well as you can find the audio versions on Podbean. We are trying to get them onto Google and iTunes as well. It's taking some time, but you can find it at Everyday Board Games Podcast on Podbean. You can also find every single one of those links, whether it's on for the Twitch channel, the YouTube channel, or the Podbean channel on our Twitter account at EBG Podcast 2020 at EBG Podcast 2020.
Yep. And you can also watch us live on Twitch, as you are right now, hopefully. If not, you join us in on one of our discussions, normally at noon, Mountain Daylight Savings Time, on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays at twitch.tv/everydayboardgames. You
can also get in contact with us through our Twitter account, as mentioned earlier, or our email address at everydayboardgames2020@gmail.com.
And you can contact us on Twitch, or on Twitter, for, I think it's at everydayboardgames2020?
At EBG, EBG Podcast 2020.
Okay. We're just going to have to start putting these down in the description. It's like, check out all of our other channels down below. Thank you so much for tuning in. I've been Daniel.
And I've been Daniel.
And you guys have a wonderful day, and throw away those inserts.